Three Black Americans were gunned down and murdered in cold blood in Jacksonville, Florida by a man, a monster, who set out to slaughter Black people. He left behind three manifestos that, along with the swastikas on his firearms, show beyond a shadow of a doubt he was racially motivated. We know that because the sheriff was honest with the public. The sheriff didn't attempt to coddle, shield, or otherwise cover for the man, and wouldn't you know it, white people haven't asked for the manifestos to be hidden. We haven't made the shooter or the white race out to be the victims. That would be senseless, inappropriate, insensitive, and stupid. Jacksonville, America, the world at large knows what motivated that man's evil. Here in Nashville, though, we're still waiting for transparency for the trans shooters manifesto for answers. We haven't been given any, and that's BS. But there's more to discuss with this hate crime, this hate murder that went down inside that Jacksonville Dollar General. It's been reported that before this monster targeted the Dollar General, he first approached the campus of Edward Waters University, a historically Black institution just 2 miles down the road. But school security reportedly turned him away because he was acting suspicious. So what did he do? He went to a soft target instead, a Dollar General. Now, while some of the media and certainly on the anti-gun, anti-2A left will use this latest example of gun violence to push for more gun infringement, my next guest says the opposite. In fact, he maintains that all gun control is racist. Maj Toure, the founder of Black Guns Matter, joins me now. So, Maj, when this all went down, I was obviously following you on social media. I know that you're obviously very passionate about it, but besides just talking about it and what led to it, you actually are talking about the solutions, making sure that people are trained, making sure that people can defend themselves. So tell me why that's important and why nobody else in the media seems to be talking about that aspect of it all.
Because their angle is to make sure that they can de-arm certain populations of America. It's one thing to say, I saw a few people talking about this conversation around, oh, these racists are getting access to guns. Florida is actually very pro-gun. The problem is that happened in North Jacksonville, where there's a predominantly Black population that has been conditioned to believe that gun ownership is racist, not gun control. So in essence, what they're doing here is advocating, because there's weirdos, and utilizing the Rahm Emanuel approach to say, let no good crisis go to waste. So they're not interested in actually presenting a solution, which is more armed, safe, and responsible American citizens in these demographics. They want to utilize it to talk about why we should have less firearms. And I talked to law enforcement while I was down there at the vigil. Governor Ron DeSantis was there as well as some other community leaders. And one of the officers said, man, as soon as this call came over, the first thing that the guys at his precinct said, man, if there was one person that was there and that was armed, this situation goes a different way. So extreme leftists, because I don't want to paint any American that happens to currently still be Democrat for whatever reason, I don't want to paint them as a part of the problem. But those extreme leftist propagandists are not interested in the solution. They are interested in pushing a narrative. And that's why we get in that conversation there.
Yeah, we know that that's always the go-to there, to blame the gun. And then, of course, you've got political leaders like Governor Gavin Newsom in California sending out tweets that, oh, look, here again, we have this problem. That's why we should take away all guns. Obviously, your approach is much different. And I know that your motto for a very long time actually has been all gun control is racist. So I'm sure that you get a lot of pushback on that because it's a very aggressive statement to make, but a very true one. So when you're in Jacksonville, when you're talking to people, to community members, and you say, hey, listen, all gun control is racist, make sure that you exercise your Second Amendment rights, get trained, get educated. What has the response been to you?
The hood already get it. The hood understands it the same way. They just didn't have many people to say it out loud. The same way that the hood already understood that there was two tiers of a justice system. Right now, we're seeing that in the so-called trials and indictments towards, President Trump. The hood already understood it. There is a two-tier justice system. The hood, when we go, hey, simple possession of a firearm, not robbing, raping, or killing, or anything like that, because we're hard on actual crime. The hood understands that, hey, if I live in a rough neighborhood and I have a firearm to defend myself, why am I getting arrested for possession of a firearm? Why are they treating me like a criminal because I have a firearm? So when we talk about races, because a lot of people make this mistake, they either go one way or the other. They say, every single thing in America is a racist, or absolutely nothing in America is racist. Those extremes are incorrect. when we can showcase how the racist practice of gun control is not only racist, but unconstitutional, we can highlight something that actually is. And if you're opposed to systemic racism, you should be opposed to that. So we don't get that pushback in the community because the community already knows. It's akin to years ago when we saw the Rodney King beating by corrupt portions of law enforcement. And I want to be clear that I highlight corrupt portions. If officers are taking that job and they're saying, I want to catch actual bad guys, we 100% support and salute those guys. But when we saw corrupt portions of law enforcement brutally beat Rodney King, everybody else outside of hoods across America, and I'm not talking about just Black communities, white communities have hoods too. When we saw that, everybody else seemed to be like, like shocked. But we were like, yeah, that's a Thursday in a lot of places when you are exposed to corrupt portions of law enforcement. And so that distinction is key that we highlight. Hey, these things are there. The communities know they're there, but everybody seems to want to be late to catch up with it. And again, the best example that I can give is what's happening right now with President Trump. We are literally seeing a weaponized DOJ and rogue state level, so-called authorities attempt to make sure that Donald Trump goes to jail for questioning elections, even though Democrats did it too. So this is what happens. This is why we don't get pushback. Huge shouts to everybody that was there, that showed up in a short period of time. But we have to make this a norm. We have to stop thinking that Black guy, Black person, a poor white person, poor Asian person with a firearm. If you have a firearm, you better law enforcement, the military, or a bad guy. You can be just an American citizen that wants to defend yourselves from clearly this dude was clearly racist. This young kid was clearly racist. He writes the manifesto. He says, I want to kill Black people. And I'm paraphrasing, but same thing in Buffalo, New York. I want to kill Black people. I'm going to go to an area where there's a bunch of gun control because gun control is started in Black communities. It directly targets that area to not allow those demographics to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Even the bad guys know that. So we have to make sure that we're doing things to actually present that solution. So when a bad guy, a racist, and let me, because I know some of the followers will say, well, only the white guys must be racist. No, the definition of a racist is someone that believes that one group of people based on skin tone or lack of skin tone, whatever, is inferior or superior to another group. So if you're a Black racist and you want to go shoot up a bunch of white people in a wherever, I want those white people to have firearms to kill you, to stop the threat. If you happen to be in those low-income communities and you have a weirdo like this guy or the guys in Buffalo, you should have the means to defend yourself. It can no longer be, the exception to the rule.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I hope that message is getting out because there are a lot of people in the Black community that are being used as pawns by the DNC and the Democrat Party as we go into another election season to talk about gun control and gun violence and completely spin the narrative. But you brought up Donald Trump several times. I want to go to that. So you brought up the mugshot. I saw that you were proudly, supporting that mugshot. I think a lot of Americans that don't even consider themselves Trump supporters saw that mugshot, and maybe it might have changed their minds a little bit. And I'm wondering if it's going to resonate, Donald Trump himself, resonate with the Black community or other disenfranchised communities that feel like the justice system is unfair. Is that mugshot going to do him well to bring in more people into the Trump fold come 2024?
The mugshot doesn't do it. It's just the exclamation point on what the hood already felt before extreme leftist media painted Donald Trump. And we're talking about Donald Trump. We got to separate two things. Donald Trump dealt with the Black community with respect and agency. So there's a difference between however you feel about Donald Trump. There's a reason why there's over 100 songs in hip hop history that relate to Donald Trump. When leftist propaganda that did not want him to be in that position because they did not figure he'd play ball the same way, and he didn't, then they started their media campaigns to say this guy's evil, so forth and so on. I don't care if Donald Trump is racist. I go by results. If I have the best plumber in the world and he happens to not like me, but he likes my money, that's why I'm hiring you, okay? Saying this to say, it's not about whether Donald Trump's mugshot will actually do that. It's just an indication that what we said was right. This system, Democrat and sometimes Republican, will attempt to, unfortunately, try to package certain people that they deem as the other or on the other team. They won't play by the rules to deliberately try to incarcerate or unjustifiably charge this group of people. Nobody knows better about that than poor, hardcore working class people from any background. So it's not the mugshot per se. It's the action that mugshot solidifies and represents of it's like literally everybody in the universe found our "I told you so" button with this mugshot. Outside of that, we're in support of Trump in the rumble that he's getting. What we're not in support of is the lack of consistent outreach that the GOP has failed to do. I was at the White House a few years ago where Donald Trump said, I was there. He said, African Americans built this nation. He said, we all built it, but African Americans had a special part in building this nation. And I think you're just now starting to get credit for that. Of course, leftist media never talks about that. But that's just him saying that thing openly that, to be perfectly honest, very few presidents in that space have said. That's just the reality. So we're in support of someone being persecuted unjustifiably. We are not in support of weak leadership in the GOP not doing any outreach in the community. I saw today some political pundit said there'll never be a time that urban America or Black America will by and large vote for Republicans. Newsflash, buddy. The Republican Party started as the party to end slavery, as well as it was a third party, as well as overwhelmingly Black people originally voted Republican. That is the reality of the situation. The problem is the GOP currently, not Donald Trump. Jesse Jackson, Don King, anybody that you want to call a leader in the Black community. The GOP currently has had horrible leadership, and you have certain pundits that on one hand say these fake dog whistles about white folks after saying we don't see color, then saying, oh, the Black males can win the vote for Donald Trump. But you have failed to do any outreach in these Black communities, and you're doing the same thing that the Democrats know, and that's what we're waking up to. Donald Trump has never came into Black communities being rude, disrespectful. He's spoken to our communities with agency, and as a libertarian, I'm just objective enough. We don't win anything on a national level as a libertarian. However, if we're going to be solid Americans, we have to be objective about that reality.
Last thing I want to talk to you about, because I have to get your reaction to it, because there was a lot of uproar. I'm sure you saw it after Jason Aldean put out that song, Try That in a Small Town. Now, Maj, you don't come from a small town, but I'm wondering if that song resonated with you, because it certainly did with me. I'm from a small town. I didn't take it as, oh, vigilante justice. I took it as, hey, listen, you come into a community that protects its own. You're going to get a rude awakening if you pull that crap in this town, in this community. What was your reaction to it, and what was your reaction to the outrage to that song?
We saw some weirdo attempt to attack a man it may not be necessarily a small town. I'm from Philly. It's not a small town. But when people in a community see you doing something wrong, like that guy that accosted that dock worker down, and the community, and they just happened to be Black, the community said, no, you're wrong. This guy's trying to do his job, and we're not going to just let you abuse him. That's where we showcase that music transcends this so-called race component, right? He tried it. The guy was respectful. He tried it. The community said, no, you had people swimming across the little lake or river to try to fight against that. That's what that message meant. I think that extreme leftist propaganda will try to attribute racism in some places where it doesn't necessarily need to be. Now, do I think that Aldean could have chosen a better location to shoot the video? Do I know that he knew the history of that place? That's up for debate and conversation. But the reality is the words in the song, anybody that said that was a racist dog whistle, they could use that song as the backdrop for all of those folks that beat up those gang of people that were trying to gang up on that hardworking dock worker that politely asked this guy to just move his boat. So we have to make sure that we take everything away from a leftist. I want to take everything from them. They've taken the rainbow. The rainbow was a symbol of God's promise. They took it. They've taken the word liberal. Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, Frederick Douglass. These guys were about liberty. That was the original definition of classic liberal. We have to be in the business of outreach in these communities. They took the Black community. The Black community was by and large independent thinking, Republican folk or liberty-based folk. We have to make sure that we take every single thing from the left that they'll try to utilize, appropriate it for their thing. We have to take every single thing from them while respecting them as Americans, because this is not every single person that currently identifies as a liberal. This is not. It's the leadership and those people that control the propaganda networks. Take every single thing from them and give them absolutely nothing. I love the fact that we took that song back. I love it.
I love it too, and I always love your analysis of all the hard-hitting topics. I knew that you'd have some great takes for us. Maj, as always, thank you for going to the communities, making a difference, getting out there and doing the hard work. You're always a friend to me and a friend of the show, and good luck out there. We hope to see you soon.
GiveSendGo.com/solutionary. Support, guys. We do these classes for free to all. Support the work. Thank you so much, Tomi.
Thanks, Maj. And I've been to those classes, and you do a fantastic job. We'll talk to you soon.